Either or by Soren Kierkegaard. Balance between aesthetic and ethical. This is what is sad when one contemplates human life, that so many live out their lives in quiet lostness. They outlive themselves, not in the sense that life's content successfully unfolds and is now possessed in the unfolding, but they live, as it were, away from themselves and vanish like shadows. Their immortal souls are blown away, and they are not disquieted by the question of its immortality, because they are already disintegrated before they die. I see it all perfectly. There are two possible situations. One can either do this or that. My honest opinion and my friendly advice is this: do it or do not do it. You will regret both. Imagine a captain of a ship. The moment a shift of direction must be made, then he may be able to say, I can do either this or that. But if he is not a mediocre captain, he will also be aware that during all this, the ship is plowing ahead with its ordinary velocity, and thus there is but a single moment when it is inconsequential whether he does this or does not. So also is a person. If he forgets to take into account the velocity, there eventually comes a moment where it is no longer a matter of an either or, not because he has chosen, but because he has refrained from it, which can also be expressed by saying, because others have chosen for him, or because he has lost himself. Take care that the great things to which you are really sacrificing your life do not deceive you. I ask, what am I supposed to do if I do not want to be a philosopher? I am well aware that I, like other philosophers, will have to mediate the past. For one thing, there is no answer to my question, what am I supposed to do? For even if I had the most brilliant philosophical mind that ever was, there must be something more I have to do besides sitting and contemplating the past. Second, I am a married man, and far from being a philosophical brain. But in all respect, I turn to the devotees of this science to find out what I am supposed to do, but I receive no answer, for philosophy mediates the past and is in the past. Philosophy hastens so fast into the past that, as a poet says of an antiquarian, only his coattails remain the present. See, here you are at one with the philosophers. What unites you is that life comes to a halt. For the philosopher, world history is ended and he mediates. This accounts for the repugnant spectacle that belongs to the order of the day in our age. To see young people who are able to mediate Christianity and paganism, who are able to play games with the titanic forces of history, and who are unable to tell a simple human being what he has to do here in life, nor do they know what they themselves have to do. So the richest personality is nothing before he has chosen himself, and the poorest personality is everything when he has chosen himself. For the greatness is not to be this or that, but to be oneself, and every human being can do this if he so wills it. Every human being, no matter how slightly gifted he is, however subordinate his position in life may be, has a natural need to formulate a life view, a conception of the meaning of life and of its purpose. The person who lives aesthetically also does that, and the popular expression heard in all ages and from various stages is this: one must enjoy life. There are, of course, many variations of this depending on differences in the conceptions of enjoyment, but all are agreed that we are to enjoy life. What then is depression? It is hysteria of the spirit. There comes a moment in a person's life when immediacy is ripe, so to speak, and when the spirit requires a higher form, when it wants to lay hold of itself as spirit, as immediate spirit. A person is bound up with all the earthly life, and now spirit wants to gather itself together out of this dispersion, so to speak, and to transfigure itself in itself. The personality wants to become conscious in its eternal validity. If this does not happen, if the movement is halted, if it is repressed, then depression sets in. What intoxication is as beautiful as despair. It gives a slight flourish to the hat and to the whole body. It gives a proud, defiant look. The lips smile haughtily. It provides an indescribable lightness to life, a regal outlook on everything. And the one who suffers from indigestion has the right to call himself depressed. Sometimes we see quite frequently in our age, since being depressed has almost become the status of our age. You scarcely assume, as do many physicians, that depression inheres in the physical. And, strangely enough, physicians nevertheless are unable to eliminate it. Only the spirit can eliminate it, for it inherits in the spirit. And when it finds itself, all the little afflictions vanish, all the causes that produce depression in some people, according to their view, such as not feeling at home in the world, not finding one's place in life, because the person who possesses himself eternally comes into the world neither too early nor too late, and the person who possesses himself in his eternal validity certainly does find his meaning in his life. I believe that deep in the solitariness of the forest, where the trees are mirrored in the dark waters, in its dark secrecy, where there is twilight even at midday, there lives a creature, a nymph, a maiden. I believe that in the morning she braids garlands, at noon she bathes in the cool waters, that in the evening she sadly plucks the leaves from the garlands. I believe that I would be happy, the one and only human being who would deserve to be called happy, if I could capture her and possess her. I believe that there is a longing in my soul that searches the whole world. I believe that I would be happy if my longing was satisfied. I believe that there is indeed meaning in the world, if only I could find it now. Do not tell me that I am not strong in faith or ardent in spirit. You see, there is an either-or here. If you want to go on amusing your soul with the trifling of wittiness and the vainglory of the intellect, then do so. Leave your home, emigrate, go to Paris, devote yourself to journalism, court the smiles of languid women, cool their hot blood with the chill of your wit. Let it be your life's proud task to dispel an idle woman's boredom or the gloomy thoughts of a burned-out sensualist. Forget that you were a child, that there was piety in your soul and innocence in your thoughts. Muffle every lofty voice in your heart. Loaf your life away in the glittering wretchedness of social gatherings. Forget that there is an immortal spirit within you. Torture the last farthing out of your soul. But if you cannot do that, if you do not want to do that, and that you neither can not will, then pull yourself together. Stifle every rebellious thought that would have the audacity to commit high treason against your bare nature. Disdain all that paltriness that would envy your intellectual gifts and desire them for itself in order to put them to ever worse use. Disdain the hypocritical virtue that is unwilling to carry the burdens of life and yet wants to be eulogized for carrying it. But do not therefore disdain life. Respect every decent effort, every modest activity that humbly conceals itself. And above all, have a little more respect for a woman. If you cannot control yourself, you will scarcely find anyone else who is able to do it. But what is it then that I choose? Is it this or that? No. For I choose absolutely, and I choose absolutely precisely by having chosen not to choose this or that. I choose the absolute. And what is the absolute? It is myself in my eternal validity. Something other than myself I can never choose as the absolute. For if I choose something else, I choose it as something finite, and consequently do not choose absolutely. Even the Jew who chose God did not choose absolutely, for he did indeed choose the absolute, but he did not choose it absolutely, and thereby it ceased to be the absolute, and became something finite. But what is this self of mine? If I were to speak of a first moment, a first expression for it, then my answer would be this. It is the most abstract of all, yet in itself it is also the most concrete of all. It is freedom.